Welcome to the High-Flow Oxygen Therapy Calculator, also known as the HFOT Calculator. For all practical purposes, HFOT is referred to as HFT, High Flow Therapy, HFNO, High Flow Nasal Oxygen, HFNP, High Flow Nasal Prongs, HHHF, Heated Humidified High Flow Therapy. The app is also useful for Bubble CPAP, Continuous Positive Airway Pressure, and air and O2 mixers. This app helps in a few different ways the doctors and medical professionals using high-flow oxygen therapy equipment in hospitals treating patients of COVID-19. Most of the equipment designed for HFOT gives readings of total flow and fraction of inspired oxygen, but do not give a direct reading of the oxygen flow or consumption. In page 1 of the app, if we give the reading inputs, say total flow of 60 liters per minute and 78% fraction of inspired oxygen, the oxygen consumption result will be 43.3 liters per minute. If the HFOT unit is connected to a cylinder as part of a unit as shown, and we want to find out how long this attached cylinder will be able to support the O2 supply, we'll have to input the next step data. For example, if the current cylinder capacity is 3 liters water capacity, and the current cylinder pressure gauge reading is 125 bar, the result will show that the current cylinder will be able to support only for 8 minutes of oxygen consumption is at 43.3 liters per minute as calculated. However, for long-term use with these settings, it may be necessary to use bigger cylinders. For example, each of these cylinders will work for a longer duration. If we input in the next tab the following: cylinder capacity, 40 liters of water, and full cylinder pressure, 150 bar. The app will tell you that you will require 10.7 full cylinders per day at these flow and fraction of inspired oxygen settings. In the next page, we can find out what should be the settings of 2 separate flow meters to get a desired output of total flow to the patient and fraction of inspired oxygen percentage. For example, if we choose the same values as the previous page, i.e. 60 liters per minute total flow and 78% fraction of inspired oxygen, the app tells you to set the flow meters for air at 16.7 liters per minute and for oxygen at 43.3 liters per minute. Similar to the previous page, the subsequent tabs will tell you how long the current cylinder attached to the system will run, as well as how many of a particular size of full cylinders will be required per day. When a few patients are in a small ward, are served through an oxygen pipeline connected to a manifold of few cylinders, the app can calculate the daily cylinder use based on each patient's data. For example, if we use the same size cylinders as the previous page, so 40 liters of water capacity, as well as 150 bar pressure, and we have 4 patients, all with different fraction of inspired oxygen percentages, and different total flows as well, we can calculate the daily requirement of cylinders for the entire ward. In a large setup like a makeshift COVID-19 hospital, we cannot estimate exactly the requirement, so we can go by average estimate. Say average flow of the entire hospital is 60 liters per minute, and the estimated average fraction of inspired oxygen percentage is 70%. And say we have 100 patients connected at any point of time. In a day, the hospital will require 5,358.99 cubic meters of liquid oxygen and the corresponding amount of cubic feet. So liquid oxygen installation has to be arranged accordingly. If the hospital has to depend on cylinders, then we can provide inputs, say the average cylinder capacity is 40 liters water capacity and the average full cylinder pressure is 138 bar. The result would be these 100 patients will use 1005.6 cylinders. Finally, for bubble CPAP and air and O2 mixtures, we can calculate the total flow and the outgoing mixtures. For example, if a child is being given bubble CPAP with airflow of 8 liters per minute and oxygen flow of 6 liters per minute, the total flow will be displayed as 14 liters per minute, which is easy to calculate mentally. But to calculate output FiO2 percentage, 54.9%, you'll perhaps require a calculator. This is where the HFOT Calculator app will save your time. If you wish to find out how long a cylinder will last during oxygen therapy at home using a small flow of 3 liters per minute, you can go to page 2 separate flow meters, and input the required total flow as 3 liters per minute and the required FiO2 percentage as 100%. And if we choose the easy cylinder size, for example 3 liters of water capacity and a 40 bar pressure, we can see the lifetime of that current cylinder, which would be 36 minutes. This app can be downloaded free on the Google Play Store. Search for HFOT Calculator.